Buckle up, folks. This podcast is all about diving into the good, the bad, and the ugly of our bodily, spiritual, and mental experiences. If you are not prepared to challenge your assumptions, laugh at yourself, laugh at me, or maybe even shed a tear or two, then you might want to look elsewhere. But if you're ready to get real, get honest, and get a little weird, then welcome to the Just Chrissy podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy McCammon. Hey friends, it's Chrissy, your host of Just Chrissy, this podcast. And when I first started the podcast, I thought what am I going to talk about for 30 days? And now we're coming to the end and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't fit it all in. But so today we need to talk about mindset. We have to talk about mindset because it's so important to understand that what we believe is what we're doing. You see it with your consciousness, you believe it with your subconscious, and you achieve it in your real world action. If you aren't working toward what you want, then you really don't believe it. And that's a biblical principle. If you go to the book of James, he talks about it there. You know, if you believe in Jesus, if you believe there's a God, then you're going to act on it. Whatever you believe, you will act on it. So even if you're working to achieve a certain result in the real world, it's not going to last without the subconscious belief that you deserve that result. So we have to reprogram our beliefs because we are taught things as children. A lot of times, most of the time, that we have to unlearn to relearn. I have had to do a lot of that in my life, and I talk about that in the book. The people that I surrounded myself with, the life that I thought that I deserved. There's just a lot that we are taught, and it's embedded into our subconscious. Before you're 8 years old, you are taught what to fear, what to watch out for, and it's through significant emotional events. So, for instance, for me, my mom left when I was 3 years old, just up and left, and I ended up in a foster care system. And so one of the initial belief systems that I would have had, and also continued on, which I share in the book, and so you can get the book when it comes out to get more details. But what I ultimately believed was that I didn't deserve anything and I had no purpose. And by the time I was 12, 13 years old, I was suicidal. And my adopted aunt called right as I was getting ready to commit suicide and asked me what I was doing. And I said, oh, wow, I'm getting ready to commit suicide. Because that's a normal answer, right? And so she said, why? And I said, well, because I'm just so sick of people thinking that I'm going to turn out just like my parents. And she said something very significant to me that changed my whole perception, my whole mindset. She said, prove them wrong. In that moment, my perception changed. And even though I didn't understand life, I didn't know how I was going to do it. I had none of the details. I just knew that I was going to prove them wrong. So I had to upgrade my operating system in my brain and how I thought. And you're going to have to do that too. You have to remove these bugs and stop running on your 6-year-old, 8-year-old subconscious, because the things that you believe are coming from there. Most people know 80% of what they need to do. Whatever reason they haven't been able to get it all together. Your conscious mind may want your end goal, but your subconscious mind says otherwise. Do you understand what I'm saying there? Your conscious mind's yeah, I know I need to do this. I know I want this, blah, blah, blah. But your subconscious mind somewhere in there is holding you back. There's a blip in there. And your subconscious mind is the boss. So in your conscious, we have conscious control, which is like our willpower, like an analysis, making decisions. But then there's the autopilot part of us that have beliefs, values, identities, self-confidence, habits, emotions, and we resist change. And we don't even realize, we're not even aware of it, that this is happening. So in order to override the subconscious, we must use repetition or a deep emotionally charged event to rewrite the first charged event. This is where Mel Robbins said something that was very significant. She said that, well, actually, it might have been Barbara O'Neill. Regardless, somewhere, someone, one of the doctors I follow, said that in your brain, you have created pathways of how you do things. So you have these habits that you've created, and there's pathways in your brain. And when you try to navigate from that pathway that's already established, it's like your body and your brain are already like, this is what we do, this is what we know, this is normal for us. You have to make a conscious decision to rewrite that pathway in the brain. And to do that, you have to be consciously doing something over and over and over again to rewrite that. Or you may have something happen in your life that is so jarring that it will rewrite that. But we have to rewrite the script that's up there. So one of the things we need to do is we need to get rid of unrealistic expectations. If you go into your wellness journey thinking every day you're going to be just perfect, you have to do it just perfect. And if you don't do it perfect, then you failed. One of the things that every client gets in an email from me is we are working towards progress, not perfection. You have to get away from that. You're not going to be perfect every time, every day. You're not going to be, you're just not. And like, if you get the sniffles, that doesn't mean you failed and that you're not healthy. If you have to recognize you're going to have ups and downs in life, and that life has seasons, and we go through seasons, and we hope and work towards the short winter seasons and enjoy the springs and the falls and the summers. We all face unfortunate circumstances. We'll just call that winter. You know, we have things that happen in life that we go through. You can't avoid them. These situations can be used to help other people, like just even me with my rash and all that I went through in my wellness journey, or all that I went through in my childhood or my first marriage. It all has a purpose, and it all can be used to help other people. It gave me perspective. The other thing is too, like I had this mindset when writing the book came up, you know, that, oh, everybody else's life is so much worse than mine. And it's true. There are people out there whose lives are much, much worse. So you should be grateful if yours is not. I always say, like, by the grace of God, I didn't have to deal with A, B, C, D. There's always something to be grateful for. We need to express our gratitude for what we do have and enjoy the times when things are going well. Like, don't take them for granted. We're going to have down times, but then we're going to have good times. And, you know, the other thing too is like your expectations, like, don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your dreams. You just keep working or walking one step at a time towards them, and have big dreams. I think there's like this poverty mindset, you know, and I don't preach prosperity, but I do think there's a poverty mindset, and that, you know, like, well, I don't deserve this or I don't deserve that. Why not have big dreams? Shoot for the moon with your dreams, and if you land on the stars, you've done well. But if you make your dreams so small that, you know, you how do you know? You're never going to know if you could have made it, right? And I always will say, ask the Lord to come in and help you when you're doing life, because, like, you know, my dreams are big, but if they're not within God's will, then I don't want them. Like, I want to be in His will. So I have a big dream. If he allows me to obtain that big dream, great. If he doesn't, I'm okay with that too. But hey, it's still going to be better than expecting nothing or just expecting the worst. Um, okay, so when you want to ask right questions, like when you create a goal, like if I want this, then what do I have to give up in order to get that? Um, if I want to get here, if I want to get to this goal, what do I need to be doing? Like you can't just wallow through life and not have a plan. If I have a slow metabolism, what would a fast metabolism look like? What do I need to do to get there? Like ask questions. I know we've been taught recently not to ask questions, but ask questions. What do I need to change? What is holding me back? What do I need to be adding in and doing more of? You need to train your mind and your nervous system to be a winner. You have to commit to a goal. You have to understand ahead of time that it's not always going to be easy. You're going to overcome obstacles, but each one of those obstacles will build off of each other. There's going to be ups and downs, but you know what? You're going to take control of your life. It is yours. You're the only one that can live it. Your friends can't live it. Your doctor can't live it. Nobody else can live it for you. Only you can live it. So you might as well own it. And you have to understand that your lifestyle and environment account for 95% of all good or poor health. So stop with the belief that you're not good enough. Literally everything can be learned. Everything I have said in this podcast in the last 30 days, you could find on the internet. That we are a culture that has so much information. Literally everything you want to learn could be learned on the internet. But what you need to do then is you need to take what you're learning and then you have to practice it. And at first, you may not do well. You may fail. You may only do it 2 days a week, and then it'll be 3 days a week. And eventually, you become proficient. You may fail or be tested 100 times, but just continue going on because you can do what you set your mind to. And you have to understand that you are the sum of all your choices. There are no overnight successes. Your thoughts become feelings, which become actions, and then they create your life circumstances. There's a million of small and large actions that you take that define who you are now. Like you look back over your life and you are a sum total of all those decisions that you made. But the good news is that you can start today changing that. You can make changes. And that sum total can, eventually be the sum total of a bunch of positive choices. The other thing people do is they procrastinate. And procrastination is an awful thing to get caught up in. So start today. Quit procrastinating. Get yourself a calendar. Get yourself a journal. Put it down on paper and then put it into action. You may fail in the beginning, but those failures are really just learning experience of what not to do again. And then you're going to mess up, and then you're going to learn, and then you apply those things. And eventually you're going to look back and be like, wow, I can't believe how far I've come. Find your purpose in your path. When I was that little 13-year-old girl, if I were to go back and say something to her, I would have said, you don't understand your purpose. You do have a purpose. You do. There is a plan for your life. And so you need to be excited about life. And so each individual needs to figure out like what makes you excited. Is it your career, writing, hobby, family? What is it? And then figure out like what you're good at. And what you're good at is what comes easy to you, what you enjoy, and where time seems to fly. I remember 16, 17, even now actually, sitting and doing art. And I would sit for 12 hours and I'd look up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, 12 hours went by and I didn't even realize it. If you don't know what your purpose or passion is, then make a list of the activities that you enjoy doing. And if you could do it for free, you would do it all the time. Even if you didn't get paid, you would still do it. And then do those and become good at those. And, people eventually will pay you when you're really good at something. Don't waste a day of your life. It's be grateful for every day that you get. It could always be 10 times worse. Make plans for today to do better and just move forward. You have to also, most people only change for two reasons, and this is going to go a little bit longer than intended, but I'm just going to go ahead and finish the whole thing today. They will either change to avoid pain, because we learn from pain not to do something again, or they will change because it increases pleasure. It's something that we want more of. So to change your future, you must have a big enough why that's tied to avoiding pain and increasing pleasure. What is your big why? Why are you even listening to this podcast? Why, if you're a client of mine, did you even come to see me? Pain or pleasure? Pain of being sick, pleasure of feeling good. What is your big why? Maybe because you want to teach your children a better way. Maybe because you want to live a longer life. Maybe because you're sick of being sick. Whatever it is, figure it out. Pain drives us to need to change, not want, need. A lot of people stay sick for a long time, and you don't need to. Believe it or not, avoiding pain is a much more powerful goal, achievement tool than going after pleasure. So let's talk about how we set these goals, right? One, you need to be specific about what you want. Break down a goal. Just write one down. And then how do we measure it? So like when people come see me and we do the 21-day liver detox, we can measure that because I do an intake form. And then after 21 days, and they'll do their measurements, they'll do their weight, etc. After 21 days, they come back and we sit down and we go over that intake paper, and you can very specifically tell that there's change. So how are you going to measure? Set a goal. How are you going to measure it? And then make sure it's something that's attainable. Like, don't be like, oh yeah, in 21 days, I'm going to lose 40 pounds. That's not attainable. You're going to fail at it, and then you're going to feel awful because you didn't meet it. Or yeah, I don't go to the gym now, but now I'm going to go 7 days a week. You're probably not going to go 7 days a week, and then you're going to feel like you failed. So decide your goal. How are you going to measure it? Is it attainable? Has anybody else accomplished this? And also, is there someone like an author, coach, or mentor that can teach you what you need to know? One of the reasons you're in this podcast is to gather information to help teach you what you need to know to do a better job at taking care of yourself. Maybe you need to come in for a consultation. Maybe you need to hire someone. Maybe you need to start listening to a podcast. Get the information you need. And be realistic. Be realistic about what your goals are. And are you willing to do the work that's needed to reach that goal? Are you willing to persevere when it gets tough? And then in the formula, be timely, because sometimes too, like a goal can seem really, really huge, and you're like, I want this, I want to lose 100 pounds, and I want to do it in a year. Well, why don't you say, okay, to meet that goal, I need to break it into smaller chunks. So on your calendar, you're going to say, this week, I'm going to start walking 3,000 steps a day. Next week, I'm going to start doing 4,000 steps a day. I'm going to add 3 new fruits or vegetables to my diet this week. I'm going to try to up my water intake. Whatever it is, sit down with your calendar, figure out what your end goal is, and then break it down into smaller goals that are reasonable and realistic. And then just eat it in chunks. So get a planner, get a calendar, work out a plan. Make sure that these are healthy. Goals, and then think about maybe you want to reward yourself after you meet your goal. Another thing that's very, very helpful is to surround yourself with like-minded people. Maybe hire a coach, a mentor, read a book, listen to some podcasts, figure out who's really good in these areas. Start spending time with them or listening to them or reading their books to find out how they did it, and then start putting those things together for yourself. If you're around a lot of negative people or people who have a negative reaction to your goals, maybe you need to just take a break from them. Also, give yourself in your mind a break from repetitive programming. Only share your dreams and goals with people who are going to support you, that are safe for you. That sounds really corny, but it's true. Not everybody's safe. Not everybody wants to see you succeed. And spend more time with those people who are your cheerleaders. Make your goal your focus. Lower your focus on other things, like prioritize it in your life. People are like, yeah, I don't have enough time to do blah, blah, blah. You're prioritizing your life the way you want it. We all have the same 24 hours. So if you look at someone else over here who's obtaining the goals of what you're wanting to obtain, they just prioritize their time because it actually is something that they want. And you're prioritizing your time to do what you want. You are solely, fully, completely responsible for the sum of who you are. And I know if you're a people pleaser, you're like, yeah, but I. Listen, you have to start saying no. You have to start prioritizing yourself, and you have to make whatever these goals are, you have to make them your focus and priority. And the people who love you and care about you, if they do love you and care about you like they should, they are going to support you. They are going to support you. And the ones that don't support you, limit the time, because you don't need naysayers in your there bringing down your mindset. So also thinking about the mindset of a child. If you come from a background where you weren't loved, or you were told you were never going to be anything, or you say, oh, well, I'm this way because my grandma was this way and my great grandma was this way. And it's just part of our family. Like, it's just the way it is. Like, you need to change that mindset, and you need to start telling yourself a different script. Also, you have to realize that in your brain, like for instance, when you're like, I'm going to exercise. Well, in your brain, when you say, I'm going to exercise, get up and do it within 5 seconds. Because within 5 seconds, your brain will talk you out of it, because it is not a pathway in there that's already established. It's going to want to do the old thing. So think about that. Every time you go to do something new and different, and then your body's like, yeah, no, I don't think I want to. You have to do it within that 5 seconds. Like, get up and just do it. Like getting out of bed in the morning. Just, you wake up, get up and do it, because within 5 seconds, your brain's going to revert to that old pathway. And it takes 21 days to do that new habit, but it takes 60 days to get it cemented into your brain. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am so high-fiving you right now. I know you can do this. Go get a calendar, create some goals, come up with small chunked plans to get to that goal. And I'm excited to hear how everybody implements this into their life.